Not only did we get a better shooter in this trade than we could have gotten in free agency, but Jeff, we also still can cut these guys next year and still have salary flexibility and took on picks. Like, what's wrong with that?
It's funny. Terry Foster said this too. Like, I've never seen a trade where you really don't give up anything. And then only the Knicks would make a trade like that.
What is going on? I want to welcome you from Half Court for today, Sunday, July 3rd. I'm your host, Sean Murphy, alongside my guy, Jeff Ifrady. Jeff, happy NBA free agency. Happy NBA offseason. How we doing, man?
I'm doing good. No one does it like the NBA. And you've seen a lot of people be tweeting that as well. And I agree, man. The NBA offseason is just one of a kind. There's been a lot of things happening. You have Kevin Durant requesting trades, things with Miles Bridges coming out. But yeah, overall, it's been great. Great free agency, as usual.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. And obviously with everything going on, not just with free agency, with the NBA draft, the Pistons have done quite a bit this offseason, Jeff. And I figured it was about time that you and I sat down and give a little pulse check and a grade about what the Pistons have done so far. And let's start with free agency because that's probably the most prevalent thing on everybody's minds right now. The Detroit Pistons renewed their contract and extended with Marvin Bagley III on a 3-year, $37 million contract. And then they also signed Kevin Knox to a 2-year, $6 million deal. These might not be the big free agents that Pistons fans were maybe hoping for, but Jeff, why do these guys bring value, and why is it a slam dunk to bring back Marvin Bagley on that kind of deal?
I'll start with Marvin Bagley. Obviously, the mid-level exception being like what it is, $11 million. You got him for 12 and a half. So it's a great deal to me. I mean, 12 and a half million for a guy who can get you 15 off the bench, 15 and 8. Like, I'll take that. Marvin Bagley's shown value the minute he arrived in Detroit. I know he put up similar numbers than he did in Sacramento, but he just looked like a different player. He looked like he actually was way, way more motivated, and that's what you like to see. So with the Marvin Bagley deal, I love it. With Kevin Knox, this deal reminds me a lot, and this kind of relates to Marvin Bagley as well. You sign a guy when they did with Josh Jackson. I know Josh is a better player, but you saw what they were able to do. They signed Josh. He had a great season, and then you flipped him for Marvin Bagley. Even if Kevin Knox does not have a great season, he is still making $3 million. Like, it is a low risk, potentially high reward deal. I would have liked more shooting, but I get it. I get the upside. You need wing depth. He fits that mold. And again, it's another, another project, I guess you can hope to hopefully it turns out in your favor. And that's what I love about Troy Weaver, man. He understands. This free agency has told me one thing, Sean. It's the direction they want to move in. Like I've been saying this free agency class is overrated. We've been talking about it, but the fact that Troy Weaver he acquired Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel. He went out, signed Kevin Knox. He re-signed Marvin Bagley. It kind of shows you the approach he wants to take. And that's, listen, we're not there yet. We're not ready yet. Let's just still, build this thing the right way. You have Jay Ivey in his rookie year. And I'm glad. I think that's the right way to approach it. And I'm happy with what they've done with the money. There's still going to be money available next season. There's a lot of team options on a lot of these deals. So I love what he's been doing, Sean. And I think Marvin Bagley to start off making $12 million, like Kelly Olynyk's making $12 million.
Yeah.
And I know everyone wants Kelly Olynyk traded, but I'll take Marvin Bagley on $12.5 million. I think that's a great deal, man. Overall, I got to give – I know I'm biased, but in terms of – it's not even like going out and getting the big splash, but just doing it the right way. I'm giving Troy an A. I think his approach has been great, man. No long-term commitments, but he's still filling out this roster and adding veterans. So I love what he's been doing.
I mean, he stuck to the plan. Right?
Yeah.
He stuck to the plan of we're not going to turn the corner until this team is ready to turn the corner. It always felt like the time for this team to turn the corner was going to be next offseason, was going to be whatever we did after this season. And now with what the Pistons have done in the draft and also throughout this offseason, like you said, it's allowed them to really position for that. And I mean, if we're being honest, how we've seen NBA free agency go so far, I mean, with those two top prospects those two top players everyone wanted, which was Miles Bridges and DeAndre Ayton. First of all, with Miles Bridges, we saw all the things that are coming out about him, how he just got pressed with federal charges of domestic assault. So he's going to be somebody that he might not even get an NBA contract. So as far as not having that in our system right now, A+. Troy Weaver clearly knew what he was doing. But in addition, with DeAndre Ayton, you're seeing that the market for him is getting harder and harder to find a team for him. So I mean, Jeff, you're finding that Troy Weaver's findings on these restricted free agents, the rest of the league is seeming to agree.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think about it too. Like Troy Weaver, 3 years on the job, and what he's done with this team, and to look at, because a lot of the time GMs can get impatient. I think that's the problem with a lot of general managers. Depending on the market you're in, like he's in Detroit, he understands like this isn't a marquee free agent destination, so you have to build the right way. You got to be like OKC when he with
Yep.
Sam Presti. You could tell he's learned a lot from Sam Presti because it was their own homegrown talent. And then they were able to add free agents after that. So like the Serge Ibakas, the James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, Steven Adams, like all these guys were drafted. So the fact that Troy Weaver's approaching it like this, I love it, man. Like you're hoping
Yeah.
Detroit can get to a Milwaukee or a Phoenix. Like Phoenix, I know I get the hot weather, but still Phoenix was never a destination for the last 10 years. And now
Yeah.
you're starting to see Kevin Durant wants to go
Yeah.
to Phoenix.
Yeah.
So I love what Troy's doing, man. He's building it the right way, and he's being patient. I know a lot of Pistons fans, the thing that frustrates me is the impatience from a lot of these, like, go get Miles Bridges, go get this guy, go get this
Kevin
guy.
Durant.
Go get
Yeah.
perfect example. Go get Kevin Durant, guys. Like Jaden Ivey, we haven't even seen him in summer league yet. We don't even know how ready he is. I know he'll be a great player, hopefully an all-star caliber player, all NBA talent. But again, you're putting all your chips in the middle during his rookie season still. Like even if it's not next year, there'll be a time. There will be a time.
Absolutely, man. Without a doubt. And with Kevin Knox, like you said, you brought up how he's kind of that reclamation project. I talked to some people I know that are really plugged into the Pistons world. And what they said was, it sounds like there's probably going to be it sounds like there is an option on that second year in the contract. So, like you said, Troy Weaver staying flexible. But in addition, he said he'd be surprised if Kevin Knox even made it through training camp. So, it's one of those things where we don't even know if Kevin Knox is actually going to be on the roster. This is one of those things where he can come in and he can kind of make his fate whatever he wants to be. I mean, we've seen Detroit take reclamation projects, even dating back to beyond Troy Weaver with Christian Wood. So I just think this is just very par for the course. And I think what you're seeing is that, Troy Weaver's not making any notes or any conceived notions about this roster that aren't there. He's not saying, because like you said, not just Jaden Ivey being super young that we just drafted, that we just brought in this offseason as well, but then Jalen Duren hasn't even turned 19 yet. So it's like one of those things where we know that this roster is going to be really young this year. But in addition, you talk about bringing in veterans. Let's talk about that move that perhaps brought some that perhaps at first made people pause and have some question, but the Nerlens Noel Alec Burks deal. You bring in two veterans, Detroit trades nothing in return. We get picks. We bring on salary. Jeff, this move, if you're looking at it just on the surface, it can be confusing. It's like, why are we just allowing New York to do this salary dump?
Yeah.
But Jeff, not only will we still have flexibility going forward, not only did we get a better shooter in this trade than we could have gotten in free agency, but Jeff, we also still can cut these guys next year and still have salary flexibility and took on picks. Like, what's wrong with that?
It's funny. Terry Foster said this too. Like, I've never seen a trade where you really don't give up anything. And then only the Knicks would make a trade like that. We get the 2 second-round picks, one of them being our own. We get that back, and we get Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel. It's not nothing sexy. I get people look at the trade itself and say, like, what the hell is this? But you have to really look deeper into it and understand that Troy, listen, I'll take these contracts. I'll take Alec Burks. I'll take Nerlens Noel because, number one, they have team options next year, so you can get rid of them and still have cap space. But number two, he's hinted at this for a while. I don't want a team full of 20 to 22-year-olds. Now you get 2 veterans. Troy Weaver has that connection with Nerlens Noel dating back to OKC, and Alec Burks, a veteran who can help all the guards. They can help Jaden Ivey, Cade, Killian, just with how to handle your business. So, and the guy we've talked about on our previous video, because it was reported New York was trying to trade Alec Burks, and we talked about it. I was like, I love Alec Burks because he can shoot. He's 6'6". He's going to play heavy minutes, and he's been a journeyman, but it's not like he's been a bad player. He's always been serviceable. So that's one thing you can say about Alec Burks, man. So for that trade, I love it. As soon as they ended the draft with Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, and we talked about this, that being the best case scenario, you had to assume that this is the route they were going to go. Take on contracts, take on assets, and then understand that you don't have a long-term commitment to these guys. So I love it, man. He's playing chess while these other dudes are playing checkers. So I
Yeah.
love it.
Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. And you brought up his name, and it's truly rings to the point that at the end of the day, no matter what the Pistons could do in free agency, there was no bigger signing for the Pistons this offseason than Jaden Ivey, which just got done right before this video started recording. So listen, man, we are just beyond excited to have that guy in Detroit. But Jeff, now that the offseason is kind of moving in towards a direction where we know what this team's going to be this upcoming season.
Yeah.
Like for all intents and purposes, we could maybe add one or two more names in free agency that would be on low contracts. Obviously, I was hoping the Pistons would make a run at Dante DiVincenzo. However, he just got signed to the Warriors. What do you think now that the roster is formed should be a realistic expectation for the Pistons this upcoming season? Because we were trying to guess win totals before the Pistons made any moves. Well, now the Pistons have made their moves. This roster looks pretty concrete. And the more, I don't know about you, Jeff, but the more I look at this roster and the more I see where we're at, I really think we're going to be hovering around 30 to 35 wins this upcoming season.
That's a perfect number. I was just going to say that. I think 30 to 35 is a perfect number. You want them to get better, obviously. They got, what, 20, mid-20s for wins, 23, whatever it was.
Yep,
with
we got
all
23.
The injuries.
Yep.
With all the injuries to Jeremy Grant, the Cade Cunningham. I mean, Sadiq was really the Iron Man through the entirety of the season. So if you can get 23 with those injuries, now you have Cade Cunningham in his second year, Jaden Ivey now. Hopefully you can fill some of that Jeremy Grant loss. Then you get Sadiq Bey now in his third year. So I'm excited for this season. I think 30 wins is a minimum. If they end up back in mid-20s, I don't think anybody would be very happy with it, considering these players should be getting better. Like, right. The Pistons' success is going to depend on how these guys develop and how they get better. So, again, they're not going to be good. Maybe they can contend for the play-in, maybe. But again, I think we're a year or two away from really jumping all in and digging our claws into free agency and spending all this money. For right now, Sean, I think just improvement, man. Let's just see what Cade looks like in a second year. Let's just see what Jaden looks like. Is he starting the entire year at the two guard, or does he need time to acclimate to getting into starting role? Who knows? So I think it's really just about watching these guys progress. That's what I'm looking at. I think 30 wins minimum is a good number.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Before we start talking about deep playoff runs with these guys, let's focus more on things like the summer league this week. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's allow these guys to go in and develop. That's personally where my focus is. And the Pistons will be starting that this Wednesday at midnight against the Portland Trailblazers, Shaedon Sharpe and all those guys. So with that, man, we don't have to wait very long to watch these guys play basketball at all. Yeah. So be sure to be on the lookout on that. But with that, what do you think of the Pistons offseason moves? What grade would you give Troy Weaver for what he did during this offseason? Let us know in the comment section down below, but also be sure to be tuned in and subscribe to Woodward Sports for all Detroit sports coverage. And in addition, be sure to be subscribed to From Half Court, where you can find Jeff and myself do even more talks like this. But with that, we want to thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time from Half Court. Be sure to subscribe to Woodward Sports.
Do it.